Hey, what's up everyone? Nick Bell here, your Line 6 product specialist, back again with some more Helix hangs. Hope everyone had a great holiday holiday month actually, holiday season. We are back with Helix hangs. We're going to be doing a lot, doing a lot of focus on the 3.0 firmware update. Today we're going to be taking a look at all the new overdrive or distortion models, as well as dive into preset spillover. Nothing too crazy today, but just thought we'd start it off with something kind of simple and check out these really cool distortions that we have that I'm really excited that we have finally, especially like the Horizon drive, right? So, even though we're going to be focusing on overdrives and true preset spillover, we have product specialists in the chat ready to answer any of your questions. So, even if your question or concern has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, please, don't even worry. Ask whatever you want. This is just kind of a way for us to have a conversational piece, to have something to go over, and then any questions that may come about or anything you've been wanting to, kind of ask a product specialist, we are here. So every week moving forward, we're going to be doing a 3.0 stream. So you'll be seeing product specialists such as myself, Tony Campanovo, Doc Brown, and Ross Bailey. So every Tuesday here at the Line 6 YouTube and Facebook, we're going to be diving into some 3.0 firmware stuff. So, if you didn't have any questions ready to go, maybe next week you could have something for Tony, Ross, or Doc. But yeah, let's just dive on in, why don't we? So, looks like we have a couple people in already. Tony Campanovo, thanks a lot for saying what's up, man. So, like I said, nothing too much. Let's just kind of, dive in and see what we have going on. So, I'm going to take us over into another scene here. And so, let me know as I go on. Again, like I said, this is our first stream after about 2 months or a month and a half. So if you hear some levels that are off, such as my guitar or my Vox, let me know and I can make some quick adjustments. But other than that, guys, let's see, any word on Big Sur and M1 support? That wouldn't be a question for me as of yet. I haven't heard much on that, but I'm sure someone will chime in on that. So taking a quick look here, guys, I have a preset ready to go. I'm going to give us some volume. Let me know how this sounds. Oh, we'll turn off the tuner, right? Can you hear that? Does that sound all right? Any updates for the Podgo on the horizon? So definitely Podgo updates are in the works, and so those will come eventually. But right now, we've been doing a lot of stuff for 3.0, focusing on Helix. So what I'd like to do now, guys, is give us a walkthrough on these different overdrives. So we have 5 new distortion models, being the Horizon Precision Drive. And then we have the Swedish chainsaw, which is based off the Boss HM2 heavy distortion. And then here we have the Pocket Fuzz. This is something I've never been familiar with. The Pocket Fuzz was something created by the Jordan Boss tone, but we'll dive into more of the ins and outs on that as we go through. And then we have the Bighorn Fuzz, a 1973 version of the Electro Harmonix Ram's Head. So I'm really excited about having this fuzz. I think it's probably one of the best sounding fuzzes. But for me, the fuzz that takes the cake will be this Ballistic fuzz. And this was the Euthymia fuzz. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce that right at the moment. But the ICBM fuzz, what's cool about this fuzz is it uses transistors, or more of like the op amp type of style, and it just has a sound and a feel to it unlike any other fuzz face pedal. And so again, we'll dive in a little deeper on these as we move along. But taking a quick look at the questions, make sure we're all good. Gary, what's up, man? Good to see you. Nick, thanks for the comment. Rookie question: what would love a video on how exactly connect a guitar to Helix via the computer. Definitely check out our Line 6 support YouTube channel. We have a lot of things called Helix Minutes, and within those minute or so videos, we kind of go over the the lay of the land, kind of the basic stuff, if you will. So check out our YouTube channels, and you should definitely find something there. Otherwise, a product specialist can chime in and help you out. So I thought I'd start off with the Precision Drive. Right now, guys, the preset I'm running through, and I'll run this pedal through a couple different amps. Right now I have this PV going that's with 2 cabs, and so it's a pretty heavy sound as it is. But one thing about this Precision Drive, this is probably one of the most diverse overdrives or distortion pedals that, in my opinion, that have been added to the lot. And the reason why I say that is I've been able to make this pedal sound, kind of like that classic Van Halen sound on a Marshall, all the way to just a chuggy overdrive, a heavy distorted sound with an amp such as this PV here. And so the Horizon Drive, even if you go on their website and take a look, if you haven't owned this pedal or if you currently don't own it, they have some cool notes on how to start off with this effect. And so I checked those out, and what they have down here, and I even have some notes written, because I've never used a Precision Drive. I've always been just a classic, give me a Tube Screamer and a Marshall, and there's my 2 channels, right? Turn the Tube Screamer off, roll my volume down, and I'm good. I'm an old school guy. That's just how I like to work. And so that's why I've never been able to really have my hands on a Horizon Drive. So when it was released in the 3.0 update, I was ecstatic because you hear everyone talking about this. Guys like, Tonson Abasi, he loved this thing and eventually came out with his own version. So taking a look here, we have just a PV5150. I'm going through 2 cabs, just 2 vintage 30 cabinets. One cabinet has a ribbon mic, another one has a dynamic. I love doing that so you can get the highs and the lows in one sound and just have a, hear that air movement, if you will. And so here we have the Precision Drive. What is recommended from the manufacturer is start off the drive at 0 and work your way up. The attack is actually, the lower you turn this, so, position 1 here, this is the lowest mid-range type of function that you're going to get. As you turn this up, the mid-range scoop is going to be affected and it's going to change. And the higher you turn this attack up, your pick attack becomes a lot more punchy. And so you could kind of turn a heavily, mid, an amp with a lot of mids, let's say, where you can't get that chuggy scooped mid sound so much out of it, maybe like a vintage Marshall and such. This pedal will do it for you right there. But what I love the most about this pedal is the gate. Now, it's not so much a noise gate, but it's a gate for the distortion itself. And so when you turn this to 10 and you have it on authentic and extended, the gate's going to close real quick. And so I'll show you that in a minute when I turn up the gain. But how I like to set this up at first, because I'm not really the biggest chuggy kind of player, I'll turn the gate back down to around 4, maybe 5. Start off with the drive at 0, attack at 1, and the brightness can move around depending on the amp we're using. So I'm just going to play a bunch of nonsense and hear what we have with our current setting. If we listen to some fast rhythm, not too bad. But if I want to crank up the drive maybe a little bit, let's go to about 2.5. It's definitely got some oomph, if you will. So I personally like the attack at 1, but you're going to hear that scooped mid happen as I turn it up. So let's keep the drive at about 2.7 and move the attack up from 1 to 2. So here's the attack at 1. Let's hear that at 2. So as you can hear, it's kind of getting a little more crunchy. Here's number 3. So now we're getting more into kind of like a Metallica territory. Very high gain, if you will. Now, if I wanted to do some chugs, what I can do is turn this gain up, or this gate up, all the way to 10. And then that way, you can hear the reverb in there. If I turn it, if I make it extended, which is actually going to, extend the gate, it really cuts it off. So if I did some drop D stuff, you know, it just cuts you right off. You know, and then you're cut off right there. And so a pretty noisy, gainy sound. I'm just going to save what I have here. So if we come back, but then if I go to a, you know, not so dirty amp here, and then I have the Horizon ready to go, I just have another PV, but let's clean it up a little more than that. I think, you know, something with a little grit. We could go to like a Plexi Normal, right? So definitely a lower gain amp. I'm a little high right there. Let me turn down. So now let's hear that Horizon drive. Now again, if I want to use this just as an overdrive, maybe a little push over the cliff, I'm not going to start off with the gain all the way high. How I like to start off, especially with the Horizon drive, start off with 0, attack to 1, and then put the gate for me at the middle because I'm, you know, I have more of an authentic feel. Now it doesn't sound so metal. If I turn it up to about 1.5 for the drop. So like I said, playing a bunch of nonsense. But you can kind of get the feel here that even though this is, you know, a modern day overdrive / distortion, I feel like any player could get use out of this thing. Again, if I were to turn the drive to, you know, kind of 0 a little bit. And in the same amp, I could crank this gain all the way up to 5 and put the attack up to 3. Now we sound a little more metal. So as you can see, guys, a very versatile effect. I think the Precision Drive, again, like I said, is probably one of the most diverse distortion pedals that we've at least modeled within the past couple of years. So really enjoy that. So I want to move on from the Horizon device and see if we have any questions. What amp is this? Panama model, I meant in the previous preset, or is it the same? So the current model I'm using right now is the Brit Plexi Normal, but the amp models I've been using before this was the PV Panama. And so the only overdrives I've been using so far has been the Horizon Precision Drive and going between a PV Panama and the Brit Plexi Normal. And so, you know, for me, you know, when I'm playing clean stuff, I'm not the kind of player to get a clean amp and throw to throw a distortion pedal in front or an overdrive. For me, I'm just kind of like clean, crunch, or heavier than that. But it definitely sounds great as well to have that little push over the cliff if you're using, you know, clean amp. Maybe you're doing some country stuff, some chicken picking. This effect would be perfect for that as well. So let's take a quick little look at the questions here. Just bought a power cab, have the Line 6 connect cable. Can I pick the speaker I want, but how do you select the preset that are pre-installed with the power cab? Well, all you do is you hook up through a Line 6 link your power cab to your Helix, and then just make sure you go into the output block of your presets and ensure that the power cab remote is turned on. And I would make sure it's turned on and ensure that per preset is selected. That way, when you select different presets, different speaker models will change along. If you keep it to global, it'll just stay in the power cab will stay in the same state it's in across the board, right? So you know, turn on the power cab remote, and that should start adjusting your power cab to move accordingly. I'm even connected to my power cab now, and so when I change through the factory presets, even though I'm running through flat, the little LED ring still changes colors. So that's, you know, that tells you that there is a speaker model to be changed assigned to that preset. But great questions, guys. Are the presets any better than the Pod Go, which sucked, by the way? Well, Dean Woods, I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's the exact same modeling. So I'm sorry you're having a little bit of trouble there, but they sound good to me. But maybe we can talk. Maybe we can have you hook up with us, one of our product specialists, through a Skype lesson, and we could kind of help and see what's going on. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that, we're doing 30-minute Skype lessons on really any current products of Line 6. So Dean, check that out. Send us a message if you have any questions, and we can link you up with a product specialist and get you up and running. So that is the Horizon device that we modeled, the Precision Drive. Really cool pedal. So moving on from that, we have the Swedish chainsaw. So now this is literally one of the most heaviest distortion pedals have been coming from Boss, being the HM2 here, and then also the other oh god, what is it called? I can't think of it off the top of my head. But anyways, I always remember growing up and young guitar players always having that pedal on their board, and just for me, I'd always be like, ugh. But surprisingly, the this Swedish chainsaw, what actually is the Boss HM2, has found its way onto a lot of boards. Now, the HM2, which is available here, what we're looking at and what's modeled, is an original HM2. Now, these were first produced in Japan around 83 to 88, and then Taiwan, they came back being made in Taiwan before being discontinued in 91. So these are kind of hard to find, believe it or not. In my opinion, they're not the greatest sounding for what I do, but they're pretty sought after. And if you look on Reverb or any used market, they go for about $230 today for an original 83 to 88. And, that's the one we have modeled here. So if you think about it, you're getting a lot of value from these updates, right? So we just played through a $220-something Horizon device. Right now we're going through this used vintage, if you will, now type of metal distortion. Now guys like Prince, David Gilmour, Eric Clapton actually used this pedal. It was probably, other than the fuzz faces that were available, it was probably one of the most heaviest distortions you can get at the time in one box without the need of having to constantly stack your overdrives. So what I'm going to do here, this overdrive or distortion has enough gain for 5 guitar players. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it off for now, and I'm going to find a clean amp. Let's hear how this sounds through a clean amp. Let's hear how it sounds through not so clean amp, and then I'm sure it won't sound great through a high gain amp. But hey, if that's what you're going for, there's no right or wrong in music, right? It's all art. So just taking a quick look before I build this preset, I want to make sure we're all in the ball game here. How to build a warm distortion. All right, we'll check that out in a minute. Where do you put your IRs in the chain? So Nick Cox, for IRs, put your IRs right after your amp. Of course. So pretty much what I have here, obviously, is the full complete amp model, and then to follow that would be your cabinet, right? And so that's where you would want your impulse responses to be, always to follow after your amp. Some users like to put effects in between the amp and the cab in the idea that that's like the effects loop, but it's not. The effects loop is between the preamp and the power amp. So putting an effect between the amp block and the cab block is essentially putting an effect between the amplified signal before it hits the cab. So it's not going to give you the same idea. So if you're looking for that effects loop split, do it after the cab. And so let's sorry, I just babble on. So let's get on moving with this Swedish chainsaw. Maybe we'll go after over half an hour a day. We'll see. So this Swedish chainsaw is pretty darn heavy. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to change my cabinet over to a lure pack here. These are free impulse responses, free if anyone's looking. And I'm just going to go to a clean Fender, and we're just going to hear exactly the true nature of this distortion pedal. Pretty clean sound, right? We could turn that up a little bit. How are we? All right, so we got some Journey going on. Let's hear how it sounds with the Boss HM2. Not too bad on a clean amp. Yeah, it's a little, it's not too bad, you know. sure if we added a little more reverb and just made it sound a little more interesting, this could be a pretty useful. So not really my cup of tea, but let's see what happens. Let's turn off the overdrive and move to a maybe a Class A type of an amp. So let's hear this AC30 here. Sorry guys, my fingers are all over the place today, but we're having fun, right? So that's the sound we have with this AC30, that classic chime sound. And let's do it some justice with this Boss HM2. Okay, let's go down over to maybe this Plexi normal right here. Doesn't sound too bad. It actually has some good compression in the in the palm muting. Now let's change to a different 412. Sorry if I'm blowing you guys away there. Final volume adjustment. All right, now let's hear what we have. Damn, it sustains for days though. Not too bad, I've never been a huge fan of it, but it's got some uses for sure. Like I said, it kind of it has a bit of a low-end kind of honky fuzz tone to it, and so a little more usable than I thought it may be. I've always kind of steered cleared from these, so I'm sure it's fun seeing my reaction when I'm starting to jump into these. I like to jump into some of this stuff with you guys because then you get to see my reaction as well. So there is a lack of sustain in the tone. Yeah, it's all right, but when you're the one behind the guitar, you can definitely tell what's going on for sure. Could you please try the precision drive? Yeah, we just went over that one, and so when I get through the lot, I'll check that one out. A lot of unnecessary hate towards HM2. Any gear sounds bad in the wrong application. Aaron Smith, I couldn't have said it better. And for me, I've always been like, oh, heavy distortion, metal distortion, but like you said, if you use it in the right way, it sounds great. And as you saw here, I put it in a couple different situations, and I enjoyed it. Can you please drop the FreeRR rename link in the comments? Definitely, Bobby. I'm sure one of our product specialists will comment in with the free alert pack. And so let's move on from that, guys. So that was our Swedish Chainsaw HM2. Good riddance to you. I've definitely enjoyed checking you out. So now things are going to get a little different. We're checking out this Pocket Fuzz. So what's a trip about this Pocket Fuzz? I never really knew this thing existed. It's literally the size big enough to fit in your pocket, and it plugged right into your guitar. Now, a few notes I put aside here because I'm sure most of us here probably haven't heard of it. But the research that I've done on it, it seems that more of the guitar community is interested in getting their hands on this idea today than really ever in the market. I can't really find too many players who have used it, and playing guitar for as long as I have, I've never even heard of it. So the notes that I have here is that the Jordan Boss Tone, it was the Model 1000. It was part of a Jordan Junior line, which was launched in 1967. This was actually advertised as a complete fuzz effect because it sustains any amplified note. The volume dial controls the overall level while the attack sets the instrument's input. Today, you can get these used for around $200. Like I said, I haven't found many users, but it's pretty popular in the guitar community, especially for DIYers. You could actually go online and find a couple companies that will sell the schematic and even the parts and kind of the PC board, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. It's not a printed PC board, but they pretty much send you everything you need to make your own, and it's usually small enough to plug right in your guitar, at least the original. But I believe some of the DIY stuff going on nowadays, you can actually purchase it and make it into an actual stomp box. And so let's see here again, taking a look. I'm just going to dive in and pull us up an amp, or pull us up that effect. So the Jordan Boss we are going to go right here to the pocket fuzz. And so let's just kind of hear, you know, the sound we have with our Marshall. Maybe go to single coil, since we're in the 60s, right? All right, now let's see what we have. I'm just gonna, let's just do, we all know. So not a pretty heavy driven amp. Now let's hear that pocket fuzz. That's a pretty cool sound. I'm never really swept with a with a fuzz. Not too bad. Kind of a nasally sound. If we were to kind of turn up the drive a bit, let's see what we get. Maybe turn the drive down a little bit, crank up the tone. The level, I'm sorry. So nothing too crazy, right? Your typical fuzz effect. Let me turn down my input gate a little bit and see if that could give us a little more sustain out of this guy. So again, sorry, my pot is going out on me, waiting on Amazon to deliver, so we don't have any more volume issues. But to get to the pocket fuzz, it's a pretty cool fuzz, and it's not overpowering where your whole tone is just going to be a fuzz tone. I think it has its uses depending on the kinds of amps and such that you use it with. But a pretty cool little deal that I was never aware of. Let's take a quick look at the comments. Let's see. Am I right thinking that I can use my DT25 head without a cab in LV mode with the direct out and disconnect? Yeah, definitely. As long as you go out of the the simulated amp out, you should be great. Please show us the IR settings and palm mute the strings and chug. My Helix gives me this ridiculous audio clipping noise from the pickups. Well, it could be from the pickups. It could be, it definitely could be your settings with your noise gate and how your decay settings are. If your decay is set really, really short, that's supposed, the gate's supposed to close a lot quickly, but you can get some choppiness depending on how much gain and what exactly you're working with. Yeah, we could definitely, definitely hit us up. Maybe we can link up and talk about using gates and such like that. But it really, depends on the type of pickups we're using. Are we using a hard gate? The Precision drive also has the Precision gate that we just released from in the 3.0 update. Maybe putting that before or even after. Put the gate after your cabinet. Of course, don't put it after anything that's, time-based or wet. So I wouldn't put a gate after a reverb or a delay, but I would put it after the cabinet. And that way you're going to ensure that it just, cuts right off. Because if you think about it, if you were in a studio in the traditional sense, the noise gate's going to be at the board after the microphone, not beforehand. So try that. That may work as well. So let's go. Is there a new update with these fuzz pedals? Yeah, these fuzz pedals came with the new update, the 3.0 update, Chris. So let's take a quick look here, guys, just so we can stick in time. I'm surprised we got through 30 minutes so quickly, but I will definitely want to show you these fuzz faces. So next, guys, the Bighorn fuzz. Now, the Bighorn fuzz, I'm extremely happy we modeled this guy. Now, the Bighorn fuzz is actually modeled after an original 1973 Electro Harmonix Bighorn, or what we would call the ram's head, because it actually had, one of the first ones to have the little ram's head that they're known for, to have that on the actual on the face of the pedal. So what's cool about this is that it uses 4 transistor stages. Now, the first is a clean boost, which drives the next 2. And actually what I can do is I'm going to show you the internals of this Bighorn. So this is what the internals of the Bighorn look like, or really, a early 70s Big Muff. And so you can see those 4 transistors. Now, the first one, like I was saying, drives the next 2 clipping stages to create distortion, and the final stage is a tone recovery stage. Now, users such as Kurt Cobain, David Gilmour, Jerry Cantrell, even Cliff Burton loved this pedal. Now, if you want to get an original one like what we modeled, you can get them online in the used market for at least $1,000. I've even seen them go up to 18. And so if you're looking to get your hands on a traditional, real vintage one from the 70s, definitely save up your money. And so with our firmware update, we, so far we're looking at, almost $2,000, at least $2,000 to $3,000 worth of awesome effects that we get just for being Helix users. So the Bighorn Fuzz here, I think it would make most sense to literally just do another of that Foxy Lady stuff, because I'm not really a fuzz guy. I don't have a lot of cool riffs, but I'll play stuff we all know, and then y'all can judge me for it. So let's see here. We got the Bighorn Fuzz. Now let's hear our amp, how it normally sounds, and then hear this fuzz. And honestly, guys, like this fuzz and the last fuzz we're going to talk about are probably, my most favorite so far. All right, so we hear that. Not a bad. The levels are doing good. All right. So if we were to do some Sir Jimi Hendrix, nothing too fun and crazy there. So now let's turn on that Bighorn Fuzz and see what we get. Have a lot of fun with that guy. So yeah, definitely check this one out. Like I said, this is more of like the classic transistor fuzz face. It's a lot of fun, but my most favorite out of all of them, guys, would have to be, let me turn you off there, would have to be this Ballistic Fuzz. Now the Ballistic Fuzz is modeled after the Euthymia ICBM fuzz. And so what's cool about this is that this is just designed by a dude named Eric Miller. Very small operation going on here, but this is their take on the late 1970s op amp electro harmonics Big Muff. Now, the difference here is they were using op amps opposed to transistors, like the ones we just heard. It has a slight variation in sound to the transistor version, as it's not as scooped, and it seems to cut through more in a band situation, which is desirable amongst most users. But this goes for about $150 if you purchase it through Eric Miller, if you could even find one nowadays. I've had a little trouble over the past. I'm trying to really locate one, and it's kind of hard to find popular players who used this particular fuzz face, but you've heard that op amp fuzz, I'm sure, from many users, because that's what Big Muff or electro harmonics, that was how they were making their Big Muffs in the late 70s and early 80s. And so when that was happening, a lot of people were wanting the transistor versions as opposed to the op amp versions. And now it's kind of the opposite. Now we're just loaded with transistor versions, and now we're keeping an eye out for those op amp versions. And there's just some artifacts in the op amp that you just don't get from any other fuzz, and really out of our lot here, it's really one of the, in my opinion, coolest and most pissed off sounding fuzz, but it sounds great. So let's take a quick listen here. And then hear it with the Ballistic Fuzz. pretty cool sounding fuzz. And so that's the overdrives, guys. It looks like we ran a little bit out of time today. I was going to show True Preset Spillover, but True Preset Spillover is pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Taking a look here at my Helix edit, what I can do is I can literally just press Action and Home, and then press OK, and then what happens? I only have this single, this single path here, and what's happening is that the second path is mirroring the current preset we're looking at. So when I change to the next preset, all of everything in that preset is still loaded, ready to go. So things like reverb trails, delay trails, whatever those types of artifacts may be, carry on to the next preset. So I can literally go through a bunch of presets and you'd never hear a difference. For example, just to show you real quick before logging off, I could have something like this with a lot of ambience. I'm going to switch over to another clean preset, but you're not really going to be able to notice at first. See how it just went dry? So I could literally go from there to something a little dirtier, like... And so if you're doing kind of an intro on a song, an interlude, live with your church or band or whatever it may be, you can switch between these different sounds and you're never going to hear a cut. And this is true preset spillover here. Not a lot of, not most of any guitar processor can do it, truly like what we have here. So enough of me diving. Let me just take a quick look at your questions and comments and try to do my best to answer them the best I can. So taking a quick look, Gary. So I love the idea of True Preset Spillover, but if a user and myself have encountered a glitch where we select another preset and there's no audio until Gary. The same goes for the tuner, right? You go into the tuner, you exit out of the tuner, and it's like, what's going on? I don't hear audio. Let me click it again, and there it is. This is something that came about in 3.001, and I don't recall this being the case in 3.0. So this is something that we're working on, and believe it or not, there's only so much I can really talk about, but that's going to get addressed, and it's going to get addressed really quick. So if that's a concern, which it is of mine, don't worry, because we're fixing that. We have something more for you guys coming soon, and that's the most I can say about it. But thanks for bringing that up. Could you please try a Kali amp model with the precision drive? I'm so curious to hear it. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that for you real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to this little preset right here, and you want a Kali form. Let's see here. So let's do, we could try the rhythm and some leads. So first, let's go to the Horizon drive. I'm going to turn that up. And this is about where I would have it, for anything. And so I could turn this guy down. And so we're doing this for you, Lama. Last name, Lama. I'm sorry, my English is terrible. We could go to lead. So it has a pretty scooped low mid type of sound, and so let's hear how that sounds with the precision drive, and then we could kind of turn the attack up to 3. Just playing, but yeah, hey, it works, right? Doesn't sound too bad. So there you are, we got that. Still no response to my first question. Big Sir and M1. Let's see, I'm trying to answer as much as possible here, guys. Thanks, Andy, for taking care of that. I'm just taking a quick look at you guys here. Please make it Doc, thank you, guys. Some of the overdrives and distortions are so overwhelming regarding knobs options. I have no clue where to begin. Any ideas? Same goes for all effects, by the way, for Raf. So Raf, less is more. That's all I gotta say. Start off with an amp, bring up a reverb after if you want, or a delay. And what I like to do is start off soft and work your way up. So if we're looking here at my screen and I go, you know what, I just want to have some fun with this tube screamer. The presets we give you are pretty standard starting off areas, but when it comes to an overdrive, I'll leave the tone and the level where it's at and turn the gain down and kind of move it where I want it. The big rule of thumb when it comes to overdrives and distortions is the level. When I turn this effect on and off, the volume level should be identical to when it's bypassed. So if my amp has a certain amp or a certain volume level and I turn on my distortion or overdrive, I should not hear a boost in volume. But if that's what you're going for, then turn up the level and now maybe it's a solo boost and such. So that's really step one. Now, when it comes to things like delays and stuff, start off with simple delay. Instead of using milliseconds, use note subdivision. So that's why when you tap the tap tempo, you know exactly how fast your delays are going to be. Information like this can definitely be found on our Line 6 support YouTube channel when we're doing our Helix minutes and such. Definitely check that out, and we dive in more detail even there. But I know that was kind of some speeds and feeds there, but maybe you can take that and run with it. But like I said, less is more. Just because you have 20 effects in a preset doesn't mean it's going to sound 20 times better. For me, give me a Marshall, overdrive, reverb, and maybe a phase 90, and I'm set. And I could really do almost, any type of style just off of that. So just taking, what's the best distortion for death metal stuff, in my opinion? For me, you could use crazy heavy overdrives, of course, but I love getting all the gain I can from my amp and then using pedals to push that even more so. You have different users, and I'm talking right here to Jeremy Bonesaw. What you can do there is, it is really just, I like to get my sound out of my amp. Some people like to get their sound out of their pedals. So pretty much what you want to do is, just kind of find a happy medium. And, distortion for death metal stuff, out of all the different death metals I've heard everything from really low gain, but it sounds dark, all the way to high gain. Think of Slayer. I know that's not death metal, but, just think of how they started off and how their tone just got fuzzier and just more and more and more fuzz and stuff. So whatever your opinion and your thought of a distortion sound is, I would roll with that. Because you think heavy metal and then you think, the Insane channel on a Line 6 Spider, so it's really whatever that death metal sound is to you. And so going kind of up high on the comments, let's just take a quick look at the last comment. How can less be more, Tony? I have a feeling for that. Let's see. One question: is Line 6 going to bring out a Mark II amp model in the future updates? Mark II C++. You know what? That's one of the most sought after Mesa Boogie amps. That's definitely one that John Petrucci used a bunch. So hopefully. But yeah. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me during today's live stream. I got one more question in before we go. Would be nice if Line 6 updated the Pod HD users up? Yeah, totally. So guys, gave you 15 minutes more than you asked for, but other than that, I hope you enjoyed it. Taking a look here at the likes, looks like we got some likes and even an angry face from Jim, Mark Quard. Sorry I made you angry, Jim, but yeah. But everyone else looks like you had a good time. Sorry, Jim, we weren't able to make you a happy face. So thanks again, guys. Have a good day, and we will see you at the next stream. And again, that'll be at 11 a.m. PST time. The next coming up is either going to be Tony or Doc, and then following them would be Ross. But again, thanks a lot for joining us, guys. Highly appreciate it. And again, hit us up if you have any questions on the Line 6 Facebook page. My name's Nick Bell, and we'll see you at the next stream. Thanks again, guys.